Welcome to the Church of Modern Digital Romance, where love is measured solely in algorithmic validation. Meet Chloe, a lifestyle influencer whose entire identity is meticulously sponsored by low-calorie wellness brands. Beside her sits Julian, her partner in clout, who genuinely believes his jawline can cure global anxiety. Today, their shared analytics dashboard is bleeding a horrifying shade of downward trending red. Without a massive viral event, their joint brand partnership contracts will vanish by the end of the fiscal quarter. To save their careers, they must execute the ultimate high-engagement transaction, a completely fabricated marriage proposal. Chloe sighs heavily, rubbing her temples to prevent her expensive foundation from cracking under the strain. Julian reviews the storyboard he drew on an iPad, calculating the exact millisecond he should drop to one knee. They debate the choice of the ring, settling on a massive, ethically ambiguous diamond sponsored by a sketchy online jeweler. It is time to transform this desolate corporate strategy into a breathtaking fairy tale for the masses. Chloe activates her signature high-pitched video voice, instantly banishing her inner misery. Julian adjusts his posture to maximize his bicep definition for the ultra-wide lens camera setup. Between takes, their smiles instantly vanish, like digital ghosts replaced by venomous glares. Chloe snaps that his head is blocking her key light, ruining the aesthetic symmetry of the frame. Julian counters by muttering that her crying face looks less like romance and more like a severe allergic reaction. Realizing the daylight is fading rapidly, they force themselves back into their suffocating romantic embrace. Julian drops gracefully onto one knee, holding the sponsored velvet box aloft with practiced elegance. Chloe gasps melodramatically, covering her mouth with both hands as if struck by divine lightning. He slides the ring onto her finger, ensuring the brand logo on the box faces directly toward the lens. A singular, flawless tear escapes Chloe's eye, running down her cheek without disturbing her waterproof mascara. The moment the camera timer stops recording, Julian immediately drops her hand and wipes his palms on his jeans. Chloe instantly stops crying, snatching her phone to open the video editing software with lethal focus. They spend the next 3 hours applying heavy smoothing filters to conceal the profound emptiness in their eyes. Julian carefully curates a caption filled with generic AI-generated platitudes about destiny and soulmates. Chloe adds 40 carefully researched hashtags designed to hijack the algorithm's current trending topics. With a coordinated tap of their index fingers, they launch their lie into the digital stratosphere. For a few seconds, the world remains quiet as the internet processes the massive data payload. Then, the notification engine explodes into a deafening symphony of synthetic pings and chimes. The view count surges instantly, from hundreds to hundreds of thousands in mere minutes. Julian watches the live subscriber graph spike vertically upward, his eyes widening with pure dopamine bliss. Comments flood the feed, filled with crying emojis and intense proclamations of restored faith in true love. Celebrity gossip accounts instantly repost the clip, cementing their status as the internet's premier IT couple. Brand managers from major luxury corporations begin sliding into their direct messages with lucrative endorsement offers. They have successfully weaponized intimacy to secure their financial dominance for another year. Julian opens a bottle of expensive champagne, pouring it into 2 glasses solely to take a victory selfie. As soon as the picture is taken, he sets the untouched glass down and walks away to check his personal metrics. Chloe takes a sip of the warm alcohol, staring out the floor-to-ceiling window at the sprawling, indifferent city below. Their golden cage is now securely locked, built from the very metrics they worshipped so devoutly. But a digital empire built entirely on a foundation of absolute lies is terrifyingly fragile. Suddenly, Julian's phone buzzes with an unscripted private text message from an unknown number that causes his face to turn completely pale. The glowing screen illuminated Julian's trembling hands as the cryptic message stared back at him. It was a simple text from an unsaved number that read, "The eggplant is ready for harvest tonight." Chloe noticed the sudden drop in his posture and immediately narrowed her heavily mascaraed eyes. She lunged across the velvet sofa to snatch the device before he could lock it. Julian swerved his arm wildly, hiding the screen against his chest like a guilty child. Chloe immediately assumed the worst, concluding that her brand-new fiancé was running a secret farming-themed infidelity ring. In reality, it was merely an automated notification from a premium grocery delivery app regarding his organic meal prep. Refusing to listen to reason, Chloe stormily retreated to the kitchen to plan her digital vengeance. Within 10 minutes, she had contacted Chad, a local fitness model known entirely for having 0 body fat and 0 brain cells. She posted a highly suggestive selfie captioned, "Upgrading my inner circle because some people don't appreciate premium quality." Julian saw the post go live and felt his heart plummet directly into his designer shoes. He refused to lose the engagement week algorithm war to a guy who unironically wears backward caps indoors. Julian immediately hired 3 background actresses from a local talent agency to sit next to him at an upscale sushi bar. He streamed himself feeding a golden flake wagyu roll to an anonymous manicured hand. Watching the stream from her car, Chloe accidentally crushed her iced matcha latte in a fit of pure rage. She decided it was time to orchestrate a public accidental encounter that would destroy his digital reputation forever. She dragged Chad directly to the very same upscale sushi restaurant, instructing him to look aggressively attractive. Julian looked up from his rented models and saw his fiancée marching in like an invading warlord. The entire restaurant grew quiet as the 2 internet titans locked eyes across a conveyor belt of sashimi. Chloe loudly announced that she was finally enjoying a real meal with a real man who doesn't use filter preset number 4. Julian stood up so quickly he knocked over a premium carafe of sake onto his designer tracksuit. He screamed that at least his followers didn't have to watch him lift weights with a guy whose IQ matches his body fat percentage. Chad simply smiled, flexed his chest muscles rhythmically, and asked if they had any gluten-free soy sauce. Dozens of patrons immediately pulled out their smartphones to record the glorious unraveling of the internet's favorite couple. Realizing they were losing control of the narrative, Chloe immediately grabbed Julian by his wet collar. She hissed through her teeth that they needed to stage an immediate public reconciliation to save their sponsorships. Julian nodded frantically, knowing his luxury car lease depended entirely on their joint brand deals. Together, they turned to the crowd of recording phones and burst into a highly synchronized, thoroughly robotic laugh. Chloe announced to the room that this was all just an elaborate social experiment for their upcoming anniversary special. The crowd looked entirely unconvinced, but the couple kept smiling until their jaw muscles literally began to twitch. They quickly paid the massive bill, threw Chad a $20 bill for his time, and bolted out the back exit. Back in their penthouse, the silence between them was heavier than a dropped subscriber count. Every single tabloid blog had already posted clips of their spectacular public meltdown with embarrassing titles. Their manager called 17 times within 5 minutes, but neither of them had the courage to answer. Julian brokenly muttered that this entire disaster was caused by her unhinged insecurity over a vegetable notification. Chloe snapped back that his shady behavior was the real virus destroying their brand equity. To fix the PR nightmare, they realized they had only one option left to completely override the negative press. They would host the most unhinged, high-stakes, live-streamed anniversary special the internet had ever witnessed. They would force themselves to pretend to be perfectly in love for 3 straight hours, no matter the psychological cost. But just as they finalized the stream countdown, the main breaker blew, plunging the entire penthouse into absolute terrifying darkness. From the pitch black, a mysterious mechanical voice suddenly echoed from their smart home speakers, whispering a countdown to their complete exposure. The robotic voice from the smart home hub finished its ominous countdown with a cheerful digital chime. Chloe immediately slapped her hands over her ears to block out the haunting echo. Julian scrambled backward across the expensive hardwood floor, kicking over a designer vase in the process. The red ring on the speaker suddenly faded back into a harmless, glowing corporate blue. A pre-programmed calendar reminder flashed on their wall-mounted television screen, displaying the words "Anniversary Stream Now." Julian realized the mechanical voice was just a twisted, automated promotional gimmick they had set up months ago. Chloe burst into a sudden, high-pitched laugh that sounded entirely devoid of sanity. She declared that nothing, not even their impending psychological ruin, would stop them from getting their millions of views. Julian stood up quickly, dusting off his trendy jacket and adjusting his bleached hair in the reflection of his phone. They sat down together on their plush velvet sofa, instantly locking their faces into practiced, radiant smiles. Chloe pressed the glowing red Go Live button on the master control tablet. Within seconds, a torrent of digital hearts and congratulatory emojis began to flood the edges of the monitor. Julian welcomed their global audience, using his signature high-energy intro voice that sounded completely synthetic. Chloe leaned over and planted a theatrical, overly loud kiss on Julian's sweaty cheek for the camera. Underneath the sofa cushions, however, Chloe was aggressively grinding her heel directly onto Julian's foot. Julian's left eye twitched violently as he tried to maintain his carefree, loving expression. He smoothly transitioned into announcing a special Q&A segment where they would address their recent rumors. Chloe picked up the live chat tablet and selectively read a question asking if Julian was seeing someone else. She chuckled sweetly, remarking that Julian could barely manage his own schedule, let alone a secret affair. Julian's smile vanished for a fraction of a second before he retorted that at least his followers were actually real people. The live comment section instantly exploded into a chaotic frenzy of drama emojis and question marks. Chloe's face flushed bright red, completely ruining the pastel color palette of her expensive blush. She openly accused him on air of using her brand to pay off his mounting cryptocurrency debts. Julian stood up to match her height, yelling back that her entire lifestyle was funded by fake sponsorship deals. In her rage, Chloe grabbed a tier of their massive, three-tiered anniversary cake from the side table. She hurled the pastry directly at his face, but Julian ducked nimbly, causing the cake to smash squarely into the main camera lens. The live stream view became a distorted, blurry mess of smeared pink frosting and dripping sugar. Audio of their screaming match continued to broadcast flawlessly to over 5 million live viewers. Julian blindly grabbed a bottle of expensive celebratory champagne and shook it aggressively. The cork popped prematurely, spraying a high-pressure stream of alcohol directly into the smart home hub. The compromised smart system short-circuited, instantly triggering the building's emergency overhead fire sprinklers. Torrential streams of water poured down upon the set, instantly ruining Chloe's designer dress and melting her makeup. Julian's perfectly styled bleached hair collapsed into a flat, soggy mess that clung tightly to his forehead. The backup power generator kicked in, causing the frosted camera to suddenly glitch and switch to an ultra-wide angle. The live chat viewer count hit an all-time high as clip channels everywhere began clipping their breakdown in real time. Chloe looked down at her giant engagement ring, realizing it had slipped off her wet finger and fallen straight down the floor drain. Julian sat flat on the soaked floor, completely drained of all vanity, staring blankly into the digital void. The short-circuited stream finally cut to a black screen, printing a simple text message: "Broadcast terminated." Months later, the two former stars found true, unverified happiness working far away from any internet connection. Having lost their followers, they finally found a relationship that didn't require a single filter to look beautiful.